I love my life. I am powerful. I am beautiful. I am free. I love my life. I am wonderful. I am magical. I am me.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of Learning About Young Living Essential Oils. Today we're going to go over frankincense, Boswellia carteri, frankincense, Boswellia sacra. So you see me in part of what I call a burqa. And I'm going to leave this on just long enough so you can get a sense of what the women and where we were when we collected a lot of the frankincense resin, as you see here, from when we were over in Oman on a recent trip a few years ago. And so there's a huge history to frankincense. So we're going to just touch on it very briefly today. And I'm going to take this off very soon so that you can see my face. And one of the things I do want to share with you is this is actually the bark that came off of the oldest recorded frankincense tree in Oman, from the 800-year-old frankincense tree. There was a lot of the bark that was peeling off, and so they allowed us to each have a piece, because there was not a large group of us there. So this, actually, I brought this all the way back from Oman, and you can see how paper thin it is. All right, so this is the traditional part of the traditional apparel of the Omani women when they're in their traditional attire. And this is part of the burqa. So we'll be taking it off soon, and we're going to get started with learning about the oils. So here we are back, and we're going to talk about frankincense. There are many different types of frankincense. There are 4 that are quite common. And frankincense has been around and talked about in scriptures and in medical texts, and just plain in writings on the hieroglyphics on the walls. And I'm going to just show you some that I brought back with me that are authentic hieroglyphs. So here they are actually doing what's called doing an offering, and they are actually burning the frankincense resin here. Here's the oil. Now these hats up here, if you see these hats, they're actually contain hippopotamus fat or goose fat. And they would load those ornaments with that fat. And then they would put the essential oils in the fat. So that as the heat of the sun and the heat of the day wore on, they constantly had the essential oil dropped down right into this part of the head. For some people who do healing, that is called the crown chakra. And this was a common tradition and occurrence with essential oils back in the Arabic and ancient Egypt times. So here's another example of a real true papyrus. And you can see where there is either a prince or a warrior being anointed with essential oils. And so this is actually a true papyrus that I got over when I was over in the Middle East. And of course you can translate all the drawings as well if you are into ancient Egyptian artifacts. So this just shows you some of the actual history of how oils were used. Most common was frankincense, or called olibanum. And that is a real common name for frankincense. You'll see that written in ancient history. So let's talk a little bit about how frankincense was used. I have a wonderful handout that, if you'd like, simply email me, and I'll be happy to get you this information. It's called The Historical Uses of Essential Oils, specifically focusing on frankincense and myrrh as an example. And this is actually from a scientific journal dated in 1986. Okay? And so if you're interested, email me, we'll get it off to you. So this goes into detail about how frankincense and myrrh were used in history for a myriad of reasons and purposes, dating back further than 2000 BC. That's how far back there is records of using frankincense for, well, now I get to say our well-being. in many, many uses. So let's talk a little bit about some of the frankincenses and how they're so valuable to be used today. We can chew the resin, and one of the things that I noticed right off the bat is when we were in Oman, the resin, they don't brush their teeth over there very often, especially the natives and the Bedouins. They live in tents still. It is a very, some of them still live in caves, believe it or not. There's not a lot of toothpaste readily available, and some of these people are quite old. And they chew the resin, and their teeth are glowingly white. They don't have dental problems at all. So one of the things about the resin is it actually, this is what we've noticed, and when we asked them what they do with the translator for their teeth health, they just literally said they chew the resin. And so, pretty spectacular. So that's one way that it's used. It is used in ancient rituals for what we call fumigating. And they would actually put them in a burner. They had an oil lamp down here. This is an electric one. And they would literally heat it up, and they would get rid of either evil deities, so they're called, or evil spirits. They would also fumigate the clothing, the rugs, the whole area against any insects or varmints. So there's many ways that it was used back in the ancient times. And so this is one way to use it, and it's called a frankincense burner, resin burner. Another way, of course, is today's standards, we diffuse it. We'll put it in either an ultrasonic diffuser or a standard diffuser, and we will diffuse the molecules into the air. So that's another way to use them. And so let's talk a little bit about the different types of frankincense. I'm going to do a little bit of reading so that I don't have these numbers quite memorized yet. So you're going to see me look down here just a little bit. So there's Boswellia serrata, there's Boswellia variana. Now this comes from the Arabic Peninsula and from India, okay? These are very commonly used in perfumes and fragrances in different ways to use it like that. And then there's Boswellia carteri, which is our young living traditional frankincense. And then there's Boswellia sacra. And carteri, by the way, comes from Somalia. And then there's Boswellia sacra, which is sacred frankincense, which comes from Oman. Now, they're all trees, kind of thorny, very scrub-like trees. And they're very hardy because they grow in the absolute harshest conditions. And the climate and the soil conditions will determine the percentage of the chemistry that is in the oil. So I'm just going to share with you ever so slightly just a little bit about the differences about these oils. So carteri, I'm going to give you some basic things. Alpha-pinene is anywhere from 28 to 49%. Limonene is anywhere from 10 to 16%. Saponine is 3 to 7%. And also is beta-caryophyllene is 3 to 7%. And then myrcene is 8 to 12%. So that's our carteri. That's the red label. That's just what's regular frankincense. So anytime you see anything with alpha-pinene in, you're going to want to definitely look towards anything to support brain health. And you can look up these on Wikipedia. You can look up these in there's so many medical journals, PubMed. There's so many places you can go to look up accurate information on frankincense. There's books written everywhere. So it's a good thing to take a look and see what you can learn about how these oils work because of the chemistry that's in them. Now I'm going to go to Boswellia sacra. I'm going to talk about this next. So the alpha-pinene percentages are 53 to 90% compared to the carteri, which is 28 to 49%. So the Boswellia sacra is significantly higher than the alpha-pinene. So you're definitely going to want to look up that ingredient or that, let's just say, constituent. And you're going to learn a lot more about the difference between these two oils and what they can do. And then, of course, there's camphene at 1.4%. Saponine is at 1.7%. And limonene is almost identical to that of the carteri, coming in anywhere from 3 to 7% as well. And there are many, many studies on the positive effects of the constituent limonene in immune system support. And so this is just some of the wonderful options you have with our frankincenses. So how do I use it? Well, there isn't a day that I don't go without my frankincense. Up until we got Boswellia sacra, sacred frankincense, I used regular frankincense every single day. And what I noticed is I just felt better. It's as simple as that. I felt better about how my day was going. I felt better about my own performance and just how I was making decisions and so forth throughout the day. Since I have gotten Boswellia sacra, sacred frankincense, a while ago someone asked me, Chèrie, if you were taken away in a spaceship and could only take one oil, what oil would that be? Well, before 2010, before we had sacred frankincense, I'd say, I cannot bring just one oil. I would grab my whole kit and leave. And I couldn't, they just pushed me for one oil and I couldn't do it. Since 2010, when we received our sacred frankincense, I said Boswellia sacra. And obviously my whole oil kit would be my first choice, but Boswellia sacra if I was pressed to only do one oil. I use this oil every single day. And you may have noticed that I had a little support happen here on Monday, October 31st in the morning. I had an accident, which those of you who've watched my other videos throughout the past couple of months, you noticed that my left side was a bit damaged and took time to repair. Well, my leg is now finally healed enough and the ribs are finally healed enough to where I could have surgery to help get my hand working better. Let's just say that. Some bones were taken out and they were crushed beyond repair. So we had to do some moving around of some things, and that happened on Monday. So one of the fun things that I noticed with and I use the sacred frankincense every single day. So I just put between the frankincense or the sacred frankincense, I put it on me, I put it on my brainstem, I'll put it here in my jugular area, put it on my forehead, I will diffuse it, I'll put it under my nose, I'll drop it in my hand here, and I'll put it up here where it is not bandaged, and I'll put it up in through here, and I'll do that a few times a day. And what do I notice? Well, I am a person that pharmaceutical medications react very adversely to very quickly. So I have to literally be pharmaceutically clean and free. So I go to Nature's Pharmacy, and just to help me feel better. And what I notice is that immediately my functionability goes up significantly and my comfort level also goes up significantly. The other thing that this does is this really helps me to stay, how can I say it in a way that is very supportive and still be in alignment with our current government regulations, because I have to watch my words here. This is an oil that when I really need to go to the wisdom inside of me, to go to the wisdom that lives deep in my soul, to that place where I know our Creator lives that created all of us in my belief system. I smell this oil, I will put it on, I will sometimes just hold it under my nose and inhale deeply, and I'll get very, very quiet. And I'll calm myself down inside. And I will ask for guidance. I will ask for wisdom. Sometimes it's a sense or an inner knowing. Sometimes it's like an intuitive little flash. Sometimes people call it the BFOs, blind flash of the obviouses, where we've been so busy in life that our brain is so busy that it can't quiet down enough for anything else to fit in that could be helpful for us as far as ideas or thoughts. And so anytime I need to quiet that, also known as quiet the noise in my head, I absolutely will use my sacred frankincense. And I'll just start to inhale it. And what I notice is I feel my body relaxing, and I feel myself almost like downshifting from fifth gear overdrive, where the cruise control is set on 110 miles an hour, to a place where I can think, and a place where I can function, and a place where I can respond appropriately to unexpected occurrences and situations. And so this is an oil that I will never be without, the sacred frankincense. These are two of my all-time favorite oils. They've been used through history and many religions and many cultures around the world. And these are oils, like I said, that I consider a huge gift from Mother Nature and our Creator, and I would never be without. I'm very privileged to have gone to the places where these oils are harvested, the trees. And we don't harvest the tree. We actually do a very careful scraping of the tree. And have you ever heard of the term, the tears of frankincense? what happens is there's a thick resin that comes out, the same as with the myrrh, and then it hardens. It comes out like a white milky liquid. And the whiter it is, okay, there's also very dirty. The cleanest and purest is called hosiery. And that resin then is made hard over time so that it looks like, as it dries, so that it looks like tears as it dries. And then we go and we collect the tears, and that's what we get, these little wonderful little chunks, and there's lots of them. And then that's what we distill to get our beautiful frankincense oil. I was one of the privileged few to go to Egypt, to go to Jordan, and to go to Oman and Arabia and many different places to learn firsthand about this process and to personally experience and be in the presence of these amazing oils. Frankincense I consider the most powerful life force enhancer there is in the world. And when you align that with prayer or positive intention, whatever your belief system is, start to just notice the difference in you. Start to notice the strength that comes forward in you. Start to notice the peace that comes forward in you. I can speak personally. Start to notice there's a deeper sense of right-mindedness and a bit of courage that starts to emerge once you start to work with these oils. And there's a sense of confidence that transcends any words that can come close to describing that feeling. So this is, as you can see, the emotion is coming because this is how powerful the effect that these oils have on me and on those who I've been privileged enough to be with these oils.
I love my life.